Konechny, in front, they scored! Who else? Matvei Michkov with the overtime winner! 3-2 your final! Michkov magic in overtime continues!
Oh man, isn't it nice to hear that? Flyers win 3-2 in overtime. Matvei Michkov, magic once again. Fantastic pass from Travis Konechny on the power play in overtime as the Flyers find a way to win this one, being down 2-0 in the third period. They come back, score 2 goals. Sean Couturier gets a goal. Noah Cates gets a goal. Freaking Blue Moon. Holy hell, those 2 scoring goals. That is just completely absurd. I think Sean Couturier, that's his first goal since he scored the hat trick back in October. My God, it's been that long. And Noah Cates gets his first of the year. And they beat the Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. Matvei Michkov gets the upper hand on Connor Bedard once again. And, hey, leads to a Flyers win after, a pretty couple of frustrating first 2 periods because the Flyers just had a billion chances and they couldn't find a way to bury one. They had a 2-0 on the penalty kill in the first period, and Peter Mrazek made an amazing save, but it's just like, come on, guys, find a way to bury some of these chances. They're getting chances left and right, and then sometimes when they mess up on the offensive zone transition, it goes the other way for the Blackhawks, and they end up scoring on a couple of chances there. Kolosov got the start for the Flyers in net tonight, and really nothing on him. I thought he was pretty sharp in today's game, did what they needed to do to get a win in today's game. The Flyers, for pretty much this game, were the better team, but that's also not saying much because both of these teams are kind of bad. Both the Blackhawks and the Philadelphia Flyers are kind of bad teams in this league, so this is probably the kind of game you maybe should have expected coming into this one. It's just, once again, it just felt like one of those situations where they were struggling to score. They couldn't, every time they found a way to generate an opportunity, they messed up on it. They whiffed on a puck, or they just completely missed on the net, or they completely miss a pass. Someone misses a read. They pass it into someone's skates. It's just like too many mistakes, actually, that this team will make in the offensive zone, and they, sometimes will allow the opposition to make them pay. And the Blackhawks did that a couple of times tonight, but it just felt like there were way too many opportunities for the Flyers to not score on. It's just absolutely insane that they couldn't, and there was a lot of times where the lines were jumbled up. Sometimes the defensive pairings were jumbled up as well. You originally start the game with Travis Sanheim and Cam York on the first pairing. Cam York actually came back into today's game. Same thing with Emil Andre. So, 2 defensemen that, should be on the blue line, important defensemen back there, which is very crucial for you as your blue line gets a little bit more healthy. But, jumbling up the lines a little bit, you had York with Sanheim, you had Andre with Ristolainen, and there were, a couple of times when York and Sanheim were out there. One got caught pinching, one was caught in a bad spot. Didn't feel like there was chemistry between those two. Torts would shuffle those pairings up a little bit, and then you would see just so many jumbled up forward pairings where you have Michkov with Frost, and I believe it was Forrester. You had Konechny with Couturier and Tippett, the first line that's been together basically for majority of this season. But then sometimes you would see Forrester up there. You saw Farabee up there on the first line for a little bit. You saw Michkov up there on the first line for a little bit. So, Torch just constantly jumbled up the lines until I guess the Flyers came back into the game and tied it. And then, he just kept things more basic, kept things, more consistent. And eventually they did lead it to overtime. Like I said, there were still way too many chances for this team to just not score on. And sometimes that just really does get annoying when they generate all these chances, they generate off these rushes, and then they just make one too many mistakes, or they have hands made of stone, or like I keep saying, like they just don't know how to accept passes, they don't know how to read passes, they just, can't hit an open guy. It's completely frustrating in that aspect. Just give the puck to Matvei Michkov, man. He'll find a way to bury it. He'll find a way to bury it tenfold. And he also did make a good defensive play. There was also a situation where he did get lucky, where he turned the puck over coming out of the defensive zone, and it almost led to a Blackhawks breakaway the other way. Thank God there was an offsides there. But give Matvei Michkov the puck. Give Matvei Michkov the puck. And play Matvei Michkov with Travis Konechny. Please, for the love of God. Because it feels like those are the only two guys that have some sort of chemistry offensively for this team. It just kind of feels like that we're purposely avoiding playing Michkov with Konechny, where is it just a factor of you're scared of what they're going to be like liability-wise in the defensive zone playing with Sean Couturier? Are you just really scared of that? Just put your team in the best position to succeed. And I'm telling that to John Tortorella, because come on, man. Owen Tippett is struggling mightily. He's just making some stupid decisions. He got hot for that one stretch of games and basically has been cold ever since. And basically he has been cold for the entire season. He has really regressed in the offensive production department. Same thing with Tyson Forster. Those guys are really struggling at this point. And I understand why Torts is trying to put some of these guys like, Tippett, Forster in places to succeed because you want to get their offense going. The offense is crucial for Owen Tippett to score. It's really crucial for Tyson Forster to find the back of the net. But when those guys aren't succeeding, especially when you're putting them in a position to succeed, maybe that's time to look in a different direction. Put Matvei Michkov on the first line. He is going to produce with Travis Konechny. We've seen it a bunch of times this year. Those two have chemistry. Please, just give him the puck. Matvei Michkov is going to find a way to bury. It feels like I said, with the chemistry between those two, it kind of, Konechny is the only guy that it feels like where he kind of anticipates what Matvei Michkov is going to do. Because when you put Michkov out there with Morgan Frost, who got like his 50,000th chance after being healthy scratched for the 50,000th time, him, I believe it was Morgan Frost he was paired with Tyson Forster. It just, whenever Michkov is on a position without Travis Konechny, he anticipates the game too quickly, or he's expecting his teammates to be better than what they actually are. And, he'll try to put a pass into the slot, try to center someone there, and there's just no one in position to be expecting of that pass from Michkov. And it feels like Konechny is the only guy that has that chemistry to anticipate those plays. And you've got to put Travis Konechny with Matvei Michkov, because like I said, those two work some magic together. It's just plain and simple. The way your team is going to succeed is Matvei Michkov and Travis Konechny working together as a duo. You got to do it, because they obviously have some type of chemistry in the overtime as well. On that power play, it was a beautiful pass from TK. Michkov backdoor, wide open net. He's going to bury it every single time. Unlike some other Flyers, there's just so many other chances where they should bury and they don't. Cough, cough, Scott Laughton with all the chances that he gets. My God. Who else? Even when the Flyers tied the game up, they did have a chance to go ahead, where I am completely still surprised how this puck didn't end up in the back of the net on a Rasmus Ristolainen wraparound attempt. I have no idea how this puck didn't go in the net. It was insanely. The Flyers were jumping. The Wells Fargo Center finally got some electricity in there. It was very quiet for a little bit of time there. There were quite a few boos, especially on certain power play opportunities for the Flyers. They just couldn't find a way to generate anything, even when they were completely out-shooting Chicago tenfold. They just couldn't find a way to bury. Now, is that a replication of the goaltender for Chicago, Peter Mrazek, playing good? Yeah, he was playing good, but still, with all the chances that you're getting, you're going to find a way to bury one at some point. You probably should have had at least 3, 4, 5 goals tonight in regulation. Like, come on, guys. It needs to be better. And maybe that just goes to there's just not many offensively gifted people on this team, creativity-wise. And that's why you're seeing this team struggle to score goals. They just can't finish. And that is the real frustrating part of it. Like, you have guys that are supposed to be in this lineup to score goals, and they're not scoring goals. The only guys that are doing it on a consistent basis is Konechny and Michkov. Tyson Forster is a guy that's supposed to score goals. He is struggling to do that. Owen Tippett is a guy that's supposed to score goals. He is struggling to do that. It's ridiculous at this point. It really is. You got to find a way to get these guys going. You just do. Does that come down to the center depth needs to be 20 billion times better? You put Owen Tippett or Tyson Forster with a better center that's more offensively gifted, with more creativity and more anticipation and able to set up these guys to where they could put the puck in the back of the net? Maybe. Maybe that could be the change that some of these guys need. But that's up to Danny Briere, Keith Jones, and this front office to make those decisions. And yeah, it's still I'm still asking for some changes to this roster because I still just can't watch this team with the center depth that it has and the way that they just struggle to generate anything offensively on a consistent basis. Yeah, they generated a lot of shots today, but that's really been the outlier of what they've been doing the entire year. They struggle to generate shots, they struggle to score goals when it's not Matvei Michkov, when it's not Travis Konecny. They got to find a way to be better at that aspect. And the only way to get better at that aspect is if you improve the roster. Yes, I understand there's not just centers that are going to be dropping off like flies or going off, being picked off a tree like an apple, just hanging out there in the trade market for you to go pick up. I understand that. But you do have to take risks at some point. Hell, there's a situation going on with the Minnesota Wild and Marco Rossi where it kind of sounds like he's being treated absolutely terribly, and just the atmosphere there for them sounds horrific. Why don't you try to get Marco Rossi out of Minnesota? He's a young center. He was, I believe, a top 10 pick in a draft a couple of years ago. He has a lot of potential in this league, a very high ceiling, could be a future first line center. Why don't you take a risk there? Maybe Minnesota would be more willing to part ways with him because of the way that it sounds like the way that they treat him. You got to try. You got to try to take risks at some point. You just can't get complacent with your roster because you're afraid to make trades because you're trying to win every single trade. You don't have to win every single trade. It's okay when you lose a trade. I'm not saying make a trade just for the sake of making a trade. But sometimes, there's been a lot of guys on this roster that just shouldn't be here anymore. And I'm going to keep stressing that. And hopefully, eventually, Danny Briere will make a trade. Obviously, yes, there were the Morgan Frost trade rumors. The, Chicago Blackhawks may be interested, i.e., they played the Blackhawks today. Maybe there could have been a good, audition for that. But like I said, I'll see it when I believe it in terms of trades in those predicaments. I just need to see more. I need to see more guys getting chances on this roster. And with Morgan Frost going into the lineup today, that sent down Richard. He went back to the Phantoms, and Richard has been playing 20 times better than Morgan Frost has. Not saying Richard is part of the future for this team, but like getting some other guys, some different guys, looks. Morgan Frost, how many chances has he been given for the past so many years? And he really hasn't taken that next step. Is he really a part of the future? No. Same thing with guys like Joel Farabee, Scott Lawton. Who else can you even say? Noah Cates. The bottom six guys, paling, half away and all that stuff. You're really not going to do anything with those guys. Those are fourth line guys for a reason. But, there's some guys that could be down with the Phantoms that you could give a shot, like Tulamala. He's been scoring really good down there in the Lehigh Valley. Why isn't he getting a look? It's just, you need to make room for some of these guys. This is a rebuild. You got to get some young guys, some different young guys, some looks. And I'm just seeing the same people getting chance after chance after chance after chance. And it's getting a little tiring. Specifically on the guys that I mentioned. Michkov is obviously the face of the franchise for the future. Konecny's not going anywhere. Couturier, you're sadly stuck with the contract unless he asks for a trade. Tippett, you're stuck with his contract. Forster, he's still young, so I'm not doubting Tyson Forster whatsoever. But you definitely need a lot more, 100%. There just needs to be more, in my personal opinion. And yes, it's not going to change overnight. I 100% understand that, but I just need to see different. I need different. That's what I need. And it's eventually going to get to a part where Danny Briere and Keith Jones, the Flyers fan base, they're going to start getting impatient. I'm still willing to give him this season, but this upcoming offseason, once this season ends, that's when you really have to start making some moves and making some changes to this roster, because you keep hammering it down how much, how excited you are about the 2025 draft. You have 6 picks in the first 2 rounds. You could probably utilize some of those picks in trades. You have to have a big offseason. You have to have a big trade deadline this year, getting some guys off of this roster, maybe bringing some guys in return that could be, something for the team, maybe for the future. Because that's what the season needs to be. You got to find a way to transition into the future of this franchise and get some of the guys that are not going to be a part of the future off this roster. That's the most important thing, in my honest opinion. So trade deadline, got to find a way to shed some of the guys off of the roster that don't deserve to be here and get some new guys in here. I would love for them to go after Marco Rossi. I don't know how realistic that is, but like I said, with everything that it sounds like with the Minnesota Wild and how they're treating him, you have to find a way to take that risk. You 100% do. I would take that risk for the talent like Marco Rossi. 100%. So, we just got to wait and see. But I would just like for the team to start finding ways to get more offensive talent here. You know what I mean? Finding more ways to get some offensive talent, get some offensive creativity with this team. It does start with the center core. It 100% does. And like I said, centers don't grow on trees. It's very difficult to find those guys. And yeah, a lot of teams find their centers, their top centers, through the draft. But sometimes you do got to take risks with trades. And I want to see Danny Briere and Keith Jones get a little bit more aggressive in the trade market. Start closing some trades. Got to find a way to do it, personally. So, that's basically it for the recap part of this. But we do have a voicemail here on the Anytime hotline before we call it off. We do have Sean. So let's see what he has to say about this Flyers overtime win.
Michkov 1, Bedard 0. Flyers get a nice win today. Usually when the Flyers are falling behind by 2 or more goals, if they're trailing, the fans are usually bailing, because this team usually doesn't have the ability to come back from wide deficits, but they stuck with it and got the win today. And that's a win the Flyers need to have. I mean, those are the type of teams that the Flyers can compete against. They're not good enough to beat the Colorados and the Carolinas, but teams like Chicago, especially at home, that's where you got to get 2 points. Credit to the team for fighting back. I mean, they're always going to give you an effort. And when they got the first goal from Couturier, I mean, the second goal by Cates was big to tie it. For the most part, the Flyers took it to them. They just didn't have anything to show for it, but they finally solved Mrazek and got a nice win. Solid game. I mean, entertaining game for the fans that were there. Big 2 points for the Flyers.
I'm upset, Sean, that you didn't bring up anything about Matvei Michkov. That's the most important thing here. Matvei Michkov getting the overtime winner. Matvei Michkov getting the recognition that he deserves. Put him together with Travis Konecny. That is the most important thing. That's what should be happening. You know what I mean? Let's look at Matvei Michkov's numbers now on the season, just to see where he is at overall. So let's go to Matvei Michkov. That is his 7th goal on the air. I do believe he has like 9 assists or something like that. Yep, he's got 16 points in 19 games. Where does that, line up with the rookies in the National Hockey League? So let's look at that. Let's look at points. Let's look at just everything here. Let's set it to rookies. Can I set it to rookies? Franchise. Let's see, summary. Can I set it to rookies or anything like that here on NHL.com? I apologize if this is not the case, but there definitely should be a situation where I can set it to rookies. Here we go, rookie. There we go. Apply filters, rookies. Yep, Matvei Michkov is officially the rookie leader in points, just ahead of Logan Stankoven of the Dallas Stars. Michkov has 16 points, Stankoven has 15, and then behind them is Lane Hudson and Maxim. I don't even know how to pronounce that last name, so I'm not even going to try it. So he's from the New York Islanders, though. So I appreciate it. Appreciated Matvei Michkov. 100%. Man. So, that is going to do it for today, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in as always. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Does me a great deal of service. Also, I'm starting up the TikTok page again. You can go follow me on TikTok at TTPSports. Same thing with Instagram at TTPSports. I do got to change the banner down here. I just didn't have time to today. So, yeah, definitely go give a follow down there. I'm starting to put more, bring the shorts back and everything there. So definitely go check that stuff out. I'll definitely have shorts for this recap posted later tonight when I'm able to get back home. So, once again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time.